Hello guys, welcome back. David back with you. I hope you're doing well. Now, passing any level of a CFA program is an enormous accomplishment, but completing the whole thing, passing level 3, gaining your charter, that's absolutely enormous. Guys, a massive well done all those February candidates who made it through. Guys, if you didn't make it through in February, stick around to the end of this video. Let's check it out. Years ago, in my day, level 3 was 2003. You had to log on to the Institute website. There was no automatic emails, and it kept crashing, and the suspense was absolutely terrible at that time. Could you log in? Could you find your results? Nowadays, at least you get an email. It's not quite as bad the wait. Now, yeah, big well done. Congratulations, though, guys, to all those passing February 2023 candidates. A few things to mention, though, here. Number one, time, if you haven't already, to submit your work experience. Now, you're looking there at a minimum of 4,000 hours over a minimum there of 3 years, 36 months. There's a very handy tool on the CFA website, guys, a self-assessment tool where you enter your experience. It's going to give you some feedback just to make sure it's along the right lines. It is relatively broad. They talk about directly impacting the investment decision-making process. But one little hint here that can be useful: think about all the topics you've studied throughout your whole CFA program. Pretty wide, broad topics, all relevant to some degree. Now, gaining your CFA charter is an enormous accomplishment, and I want to just reflect on this briefly in this video as well, because getting through the work experience requirement as well, and finding your scroll arriving, which is exactly as it suggests, kind of quite a large scroll here, quite a famous scroll. And then, should you frame it or not to frame it? I definitely recommend that you do. You do. It's all that hard work to kind of see that and remind you of what you've been through. Well worth doing. Now, I want to reflect a little bit, guys, on what you've been through next. One chapter ends, another begins. And, of course, the CFA program dominates for the period that you're involved in it. But, guys, life moves on, and things move on to a new chapter for you. Now, when you're looking back, certainly want to recognize all the hard work and what you've achieved. I think it's important to celebrate and recognize all this. When you firstly look at the enormity of what you've done, guys, from the start of the CFA program back in 1963, this data here is from the Institute website, their passing statistics, and going up to February this year, 2023, there were 2.1 million attempts at CFA level 1. Of course, some of these people attempted more than once. Now, the data that I've got here was up until November 2022. At that point, only 302,649 candidates had passed cumulatively. Again, the February numbers are going to be added on top of that as well. So just shows you guys, of those people passing at that time up to November, only 302 people had passed, and there were 2.1 million attempts up until February there. Now, the hours you've put in, those of you who've been through it, of course, who've got your pass, know that these numbers might not mean a lot to you personally. You might put less or more in, and only you know what you've put in this way. But the kind of stock averages of 300 hours being 900 hours, well, is that going to reflect your journey? You're going to be more or less than that. Think about how you spent it in terms of the reading you've done, or perhaps the courses you've attended, the videos you've watched, the instructors you've met, the practice questions that you've solved, the solutions that you've had to go back and check over, the mocks that you've completed too. Look at where you are now, guys, to where you started. Look at perhaps your career over that period, the knowledge that you've gained, the topics in level 1, 2, and 3. Look at the problems that you've had to solve, the head you've had to scratch, those kind of aha moments that you've eureka moments that you've kind of got round and solved. Look at the challenges that you've had to face in all that work, in all that knowledge to get to the standard required. One of only relatively few who made it through, of course. Now, a chapter ends, but doesn't a new chapter begin as well? And I want to give you a quote from a movie, and I'm sure many of you will recognize the movie character I'm describing. So I'm going to describe this person as a person of focus, of commitment, of sheer will. Actually, this person did use a HB pencil too, and these are skills, particularly the focus, commitment, and sheer will, that many people out there look back to the millions. There's 2.1 millions, many of which weren't able to do this, know very little about. Guys, of course, you can look up the movie that I'm talking about here, but to pass all three levels, to get to the other end, this really describes, I feel, what it takes. It wouldn't matter, in a way, the learning topics we put in front of you. You're able to learn them. So you've shown an amazing ability, guys, a perseverance, the determination to come through and to learn just about anything was put in front of you. The future, guys, here is bright for you. The career opportunities that you have, but in particular, guys, recognizing that you're able to adapt to new challenges, whatever you choose to move forward with. And of course, the CFA program isn't the only challenge you're going to face, whether it means in your personal lives, guys, or work career, of course, or future learning. There's always something. You don't retire for a while. But for now, time for yourself, perhaps after a lot of sacrifice and hard work, time for you and your family and your friends. What about your hobbies and interests? Now, most people, by the time they've got to level 3, they've kind of found a way to fit in learning into their lives. Hopefully you haven't had to sacrifice all of this over this period. It's very, very healthy to be able to continue with a life. Really helps studying and recharging your batteries if you can switch off from studying as well. But you don't retire for a while. This idea of lifelong learning, what's next? Now, personally, back in 2003, I mentioned, guys, was when I completed my own CFA journey, although I have been teaching it pretty much ever since. But for me, moving more into the risk area, and it wasn't that long, the year after 2004, when I picked up the FRM books. And I can remember that being relatively confident, as a CFA charter holder, looking though at an FRM mock and not having a clue, so didn't recognizing hardly any questions at that time, one or two perhaps, but not that many, realizing I was going to have to put in some serious work into the FRM. And I kind of class myself as a risk person ever since. The CFA program was a really good foundation in many areas. Where do you want to specialize next? Now, guys, for anyone who hasn't got through this time in February, guys, remember how close you are. CFA level 1 and 2, a heck of a lot of work's been completed. And got to look back and review what we can do, what you can do to get through. Maybe, guys, it might be certain knowledge areas, or time might have been short for you. Did you get through all the practice questions? Did you get through all the mock exams? Were there areas you need to revisit and to strengthen? So guys, this idea of being very close, you could just be 6 months away, a little bit longer than 6 months away from being in the same position here. So if you want to reach out, guys, and to discuss plans for retaking, you want to reach out and discuss strategies. Maybe it's more on the area of technique, guys. Perhaps that's an area that you weren't perhaps as prepared for that you wanted to be. So, guys, reach out if you want a hand. We'd be glad to work with you on that. Those of you who've got through this time, going to wish you all the very, very best for the future, guys, and whatever you have in mind. This has been David. I hope you've enjoyed the quick update, and see you very soon.